Welcome to the Healthy Screen Habits podcast. We are the first generation to parent while balancing screens, life, and family. Each episode features insights, tips, and takeaways to help establish safe, mindful habits while living your family's healthiest digital life. Whether you're starting your parenting journey with a newborn or looking to connect with your teen on technology, this is the podcast for you. Thank you so much for joining us today. Our guest is someone who is beyond a rising star in this niche of the world. He's kind of like this rocketing meteor explosion of hope and light and awareness to this area of the world called screen safety and protection against early pornography exposure. I'm so excited to share with you his story of how by age 17, he has already battled social media and early exposure to pornography. He's founded a nonprofit called the Live Life Bigger Foundation, testified in state legislature, started a podcast. The list goes on and on. He's done this all while going to school, playing lacrosse, doing chores, basically living the life of a teenager. He is on a mission to inspire kids to live life bigger and find help whenever, wherever they need it, without stigma attached. If you don't know who I'm talking about, I would say get ready to hear his name a lot, because what I'm sure of is this guy's going places. Smith Ali, welcome to Healthy Screen Habits.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to talk today.
I'm so excited to have you. So Smith, I really think that one of the gifts that you have is you have this resonation with people of all ages when they hear your story and your struggle with pornography, the effects of social media that you experienced. You're so real and you're so relevant to all ages. To share that kind of vulnerability, you probably had to dig pretty deep. Sometimes digging that deep comes from actually kind of hitting rock bottom. So I just want to know, are you up for taking us through your journey? I don't want to ask you things that are beyond your scope today. I want to be respectful of where you're at.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, awesome. Can you kind of take us down through your journey? You grew up in Bountiful, Utah, and really take us down the path.
Yeah. So I grew up in Bountiful, Utah. I have an amazing family, amazing parents. I have 3 sisters, 2 older, 1 younger. So I'm kind of sandwiched by girls, and that's a lot of fun. I think that has taught me a lot in my life. But, really going into my story, I had a stutter when I was a little kid. And I think this was when I look back, this was the root of my insecurities. And this was the root where, I kind of learned to stop loving myself. And I got to this point. So, I was made fun of in kindergarten, 1st, 2nd grade. And then, once we got into 3rd, 4th grade, we started seeing development in speech therapy. And so once that happened, there were less jokes and there were less, I wasn't the blunt of every joke, but.
And you really remember that time.
Yeah, I think that really stands out to me. I don't remember a lot of kindergarten through 1st, 2nd grade, but that's pretty vivid to me. And I remember by the time I was in 3rd, 4th grade, I didn't really need the kids making jokes because I was just kind of hard on myself, and I was down on myself. And the other thing is I've always been a bigger kid. Now I'm 6'2", but there was a lot of the time where once I got into social media, then I was just comparing myself because I was kind of a smaller, chunkier kid. But it was at age 9 that I was exposed to pornography on this little Android tablet that I'd gotten for Christmas the year before. And I think that because my parents have always been really outspoken and have talked to us about pornography and what it is and what we need to do when we see it.
Do you recognize what you were seeing even from the start? Because that's one of the things that I know with the early exposure educators they talk about is the importance of talking about pornography with children and teaching them what it is even before first exposure.
Yeah, and my parents had done very well teaching me what that is, and um, like I knew immediately that I had to turn off the Android tablet. But what happened is because I was still ashamed of what I'd seen, I didn't go and tell my parents. And even though I was fairly quick to turn that off and get rid of it, I still remember the feelings that it gave me and the chemical release that happened. And so going later into life, once I'm having an iPod Touch and I'm getting onto social media and doing all of this stuff, that's when it creeped back into my life. And it was about 10 and a half years. I had remembered the feeling that pornography had gave me. And at this point in my life, I was on social media and comparing myself. And I was in a really bad spot personally. And at such a young age too, which is really sad to think about. And so I was battling that, and I was battling, the insecurities that I already had in myself. And, because of those insecurities, I'd kind of just push my family away. And I always tried to keep them at an arm's distance so that they couldn't really be close to me and really know what's going on with me. Um, and just as a quick note here, as a little kid, I was the happiest kid ever. My parents always talk about how you'd walk into a room and I'd be in the room by myself and I'd just be laughing at a wall. One of the things that I always tell parents is especially parents, like to write this off as a high school stage or a teenage boy stage or a phase. And I think that's one of the worst things that we can do is just to write something off as a phase, because I truly believe that kids were meant to be happy, and kids were, there's such a creativity and this ability to love and to kind of adapt to your surroundings, that kids are supposed to be happy and they're supposed to be loving. And I think that if there's ever anything wrong with your teenage boys or girls, it's not just a phase, it's because something's going on.
Does this
And
kind of get around to your why of how you ended up in this space and how you ended up doing the work that you do today?
yeah, I mean, I think that I felt that there's a lot that I can bring to this space because of me being young, and because, especially with talking to kids and talking to youth, um, I've decided it's almost like a cool factor, you know, where kids are going to listen to me more because I'm where they are. I felt that there's a lot that I can bring to that. But, I got into pornography pretty heavily at 10 and a half, and it just got worse as time went by. And with that going and that kind of spiraling down, my social media addiction spiraled down the same way. And
Did you find you used them hand in hand, or was one exclusive of the other?
no, yeah, I definitely got a lot of the porn that I watched from social media. I found it other places, but um, I do think that it worked hand in hand also in the way that, social media made me compare myself to others. I felt terrible. I felt worthless. And so the only love that I felt worthy of was the love or the fake love. I didn't know what it was really doing to me, but this fake love, this fake emotion that I got from pornography.
And you say, I've heard you speak in other areas. You say that you have this saying, it's about the cost of social media.
Yeah, when you buy love and entertainment from social media or pornography, you're buying love for your brain, but the cost is your heart. And
So powerful.
it really, like, these sources of love or entertainment, they give you all of the chemicals that your brain wants, but it leaves you emotionally torn, and it leaves you feeling worthless, and leaves you feeling worse than you did before. And so it just kind of all spiraled down. And at 13, 14 years old, I was viewing pornography 4 to 5, sometimes 6 times a day. Um, and, super depressed and just in a terrible spot. but I think I was really good at putting on masks. I was really good at reading my parents and my friends and the people around me and making sure that I was never pushing too far, and making sure that really good at sneaking around, really good at deleting history, finding sneaky ways to get the pornography, finding
Knowing
all
all the
of this stuff.
workarounds.
Yeah. All the loopholes, I like to call them.
The
And
benefits of being a digital native, right?
yeah. And so I got to this point at 14 years old where, I got involved in some deeper trouble, and that trouble led my parents to finding out. And I remember that day just being the most relieving day of my life. And I was so scared, but I was finally I was just so relieved that finally I could use my parents and I could use the support that I had to fight this demon.
It's so profound to hear that at the apex of your problems, you view it was also the most relieving day of your life. Just that you were finally able to share what you'd been carrying.
Yeah, and obviously we talk to a lot of families now, and my parents are on the phone a lot with other parents who are calling us, telling us that they found out that their kid's struggling with pornography, all the things like that. And, I hear my mom tell them a lot. She always says, I know this feels like the worst day of your life, but you'll look back and it'll be the best because you know what you have to fight. And what you have to fight is now in the light, and you can see it and you can destroy it. And I think that's how we felt, really. And I think that once my parents got over this kind of the primary emotion of being upset and, of worry, I think that we were really relieved that all of this trouble, all of the everything that I was going through, the way that I was acting, it was all explainable now, and we could actually work towards that.
You could work towards being in that light, like you said. That's great. Okay, before we move on to the mission of your nonprofit, I want to go ahead and take a little break.
Are you looking to get your child a phone, but don't know where to start? With after-school practices, meetings, and hangouts, do you want to have the ease of texting, but not the worries that come with access to internet? Good news. Healthy Screen Habits has done the legwork for you. We can take away the guesswork of what's best. Our answer is Gabb Wireless. Gabb Wireless created the phone that parents have all been asking for. It can text, but it does not receive or send pictures. It provides your child with social connections, but does not have social media and games. It looks like a smartphone with a touchscreen, has talk, text, calculator, calendar, FM radio, and alarm functions, but no internet. Setup is super easy. Plug it in and start charging. Activation is free, shipping is free, and the best news is Gabb Wireless phones start at under $100. I've paid more for some cases for other smartphones. Fun fact, the average teen Gabb Wireless user spends 80% less time on their phone than the average teen. That's time that can be spent mastering a musical instrument, developing life skills, and learning to communicate face-to-face with empathy and connection. Or maybe it's just time to finish chores and take out the trash. At any rate, it's 80% less time that you will be telling your kids to put their phone down. You're welcome. Smartphones aren't bad, they just come at a bad time for kids. Give your child the tool of Gabb Wireless to discover and learn the responsibilities of phone ownership without the fears or worries attached to untrained smartphone use. Gabb is a phone that's smart for kids. Now, even more good news, you can get $10 off your order of a Gabb Wireless phone by using the promo code HSHabits. That's HS Habits, like Healthy Screen Habits, but shorter. You can find a link to Gabb Wireless under the Tools tab on our website, www.healthyscreenhabits.org. Press and hold the tab and look for products we endorse in the drop-down menu. You're looking for Gabb Wireless, Gabb Wireless, your child's first phone that's smart for them.
Today, we are talking with Smith Alley, the 17-year-old founder of the Live Life Bigger Foundation. So, Smith, I love the mission of your nonprofit, which is to inspire, inform, and empower people to live life bigger. The sound of it just like gets me excited and pumped up. Can you paint a picture for me? Tell me, what can someone do to live life bigger?
I think living life bigger means different things to different people, but I think that truly it means finding your potential in life and finding what you love and enjoy and your passion, and hopefully something that can help other people, and being able to utilize that as best as you can and put all of your effort into that, something that's meaningful, something that you feel accomplishes your life goals, and then also just making connections with people. I think that you know, a lot of people, when they hear live life bigger, they think, okay, I have to go be outside and be in nature and, do all of this stuff. And I think that the biggest part of living life bigger is spending more time and more effort on your connections and on your relationships. And I found as my family, as we try to live life bigger more, we spend a lot of time together, and we spend a lot of time laughing and, just doing whatever we can, making each other happy. I think that that's been the biggest part of living life bigger for us, is becoming more and becoming closer as a family.
That's great. Yes, the connections are where it's at. And I think during this time of COVID and quarantine, where we've all been living separately, we have a new appreciation for connections that we may have just taken for granted before. One of the things that you've been doing to live life bigger and remember and honor the force that was Colin Karchner, who is in this field, is you have kind of combined and teamed up with Chris McKenna from Protect Young Eyes. I've been listening weekly to your podcast that you do together. It's called the Smith and Chris podcast. And you guys do this amazing job. It's this wonderful resource because you have these weekly snippets of hot topics in the world of tech safety. It's so interesting because you get to hear both the dad/adult perspective from Chris and the teen perspective from you. How's that going for you?
Oh, I love podcasting with Chris. I love being able to honor Colin. He meant a lot to me, and he was a big mentor for me. And being able to, one of the reasons that I'm doing everything that I'm doing is because of Colin. And before I even met Colin, I was starting this company, Protect Strong, to help families set up tech restrictions and everything like that. But after I met Colin, that's when I realized that there was so much more that I could be doing, and I started speaking with him, and I started putting out podcasts, and I started doing all of this stuff. And then when he passed away, it kind of just made me realize I have to go 110% at this.
Well, you have definitely been being heard loud and clear and continuing in the footsteps of everything Colin was dreaming of doing. So thank you. Thank you for doing this. One of the things I wonder, as you spend week after week looking at this world of tech that you guys do take this deep dive into with the snippets and hot topics, does it change at all the way you view the world?
So I think I've always had this realization of what a crazy world that we live in, but I think that that's amplified as I've gotten to do this podcast, and Chris is to see the world that we live in, and that does get overwhelming sometimes. But I think that every time, for every horrible instance, there's someone who's battling it out there, and there's someone who's trying to make a difference,
and there's someone who's reaching a hand.
Mm-hmm. And I think that that's amazing. That's the amazing thing. And as I watch more and more teenagers step up to kind of address this issue, I get more and more hope for our future, because, sometimes it does look very grim, and it does look very scary to hear the stuff that's going on in the world, and to hear, about big tech and everything that they're doing, and to hear about millions of videos of child sexual abuse material, and to hear about all this stuff can be super overwhelming. It can, get very tough to listen to. But I think that every time I get to a point where I'm like, what has our world come to? Why do I even do the thing I'm doing? Look at who I'm fighting. I'm fighting these $1 trillion companies. And I think that's when you hear about someone who's doing amazing work, and you hear about someone who is passionate and someone who's really trying to help.
Right. And this community of tech safety educators and early exposure educators definitely has grown. That's been exciting to see too. I'm going to touch base on that policy measure that you talked about because I know you did something really exciting in Utah regarding legislature. We're going to talk a little bit more about that after this break. Do you live with a teen who is tech savvy? Maybe a digital native who's the only one who can figure out how to get the playlist going in the car? Each Tuesday on the Healthy Screen Habits Instagram and Facebook pages, we spotlight Teen Tip Tuesday. These are features submitted by teens that provide helpful hacks for productivity, managing social media, and promoting intentional tech use. If you know a teen who has a helpful screen tip, we want to hear from them. Have them contact us at healthyscreenhabits.org and put Teen Tip in the subject line. We're back with Smith Alley, and he recently testified for HB 72. That's House Bill 72 in Utah. Smith, could you explain what HB 72 is and why it's important for people to get behind this type of policy in legislature?
Yeah. So I remember Chris asking me on one of our podcasts if I woke up on January 1st, 2020, expecting to get into legislature, and the answer is no. But I've been very grateful to be involved with it now and, with the team that Chris is on. But recently, Representative Pulsifer, she's amazing. She sponsored this bill, House Bill 72, HB 72, and it's the device filtering amendment. So it requires that all manufacturers who sell their devices inside of Utah, the restrictions and the controls would have to come preset as on instead of off. Right now they already come off and parents have to dig through settings and figure out how to set them up.
Now it's counterintuitive. I mean, people have to figure it all out with every purchase. And so what this bill would do if it goes through is it would enact it to be already set up so that the phone would be a safer place already.
Yeah, I think we're just trying to put as many layers as protection as we can in place. And so that's super important. And so it's passed through the House committee, it passed through the full House, it passed through the Senate committee. So now it's going on to the full Senate. And there is a clause in there where 5 other states have to, adopt the same amendment before it goes into action in Utah. But from what I've heard from Chris, there's a lot of other states that are super excited about this and are excited to get it through and excited to, really start this process of trying to keep our kids safe.
It really will just be logarithmic in its reach towards getting kids in safer places and helping parents. Because honestly, I think parents are completely overwhelmed with the technology in their homes, and they're handing kids devices they don't even realize can be harmful.
Yeah. And another thing is, I think that one of the things that I heard against this bill was that we're kind of passing on parental responsibility to big tech. There will never be a responsibility completely passed over to big tech and to these manufacturers. And I think that it's always going to be important. I think that we need to take a lot more preventative measures. I think that, too much parents today are reactionary, and we've had plenty of times when I started this Protect Strong company, I'd, talk to our family friends about it and offer it to them to come set up their tech safely. And they'd be like, no, that's not for us. We don't really need that right now. And then 3 months later, they call us finding out that their son's dealing with pornography or that their daughter's harming themselves. But that's when they want the service, and that's when they want their tech to be safe. But I think that we need to take more preventative measures as a society and as, in this arena. To think that your kid isn't dealing with something is to ignore the fact that they're human, and your kids are human. And so I think that we need to have a better mindset of like, hey, our kids are human. They're growing up in a really scary world. And we need to take as many preventative measures and proactive measures instead of being reactive.
I agree with you completely. I come from an educational background. My philosophy of education remains the same as it has for years, and that's that education saves lives. I mean, across the board, you can apply that philosophy in so many areas. And thank you for joining the ranks of being an educator now. And since this is the Healthy Screen Habits podcast, it's going to make sense that I ask you for a healthy screen habit. I know you probably have way more than just one, but I'm only going to ask you for one. Smith, do you have a tip or takeaway that our listeners could put into place in their homes?
Yeah, I think if there's one thing that you can do as a family, it's to create a media goal for your family. And this is really important, and it's important that you do it right, because if you can make it so your kids are on your team instead of you're having to go against your kids with technology, you can create a better environment. And so sit down with your kids, sit down with your family, and ask them, what they want media usage in your house to look like. And, write down your goals, whether that's, no screens at dinner or no screens past 8 o'clock at night so that you can spend family time together, whatever that is. Ask your kids, like, when do you want to see mom and dad off of their phones? When are we on your phones where you'd rather spend some time with us? And if you can get the perspective and the voice of everyone, and you can create a family team instead of, mom and dad having to control the kids, it creates this amazing atmosphere where you turn into like a dynamic team and you can do almost anything. And then being able to write those things down that you want to accomplish and being able to, hang it up somewhere where everybody can see it so that it's a daily reminder of what your family is trying to do, of, the things you're trying to accomplish and where you want media in your life. Because if you don't tell media where you want it in your life, it'll put itself in your life where you don't want it.
Oh, okay, wait. Say that again. If you want...
If you don't tell media where you want it in your life, it'll put itself in your life where you don't want it.
That is so true. And I like your dynamic team reference to the family unit. It's something I think everybody can picture what that looks like.
I think that we've lost that more and more as we turn I feel like every house that I walk into, it's always the kids against the parents and it's a battle. And I think that if we can change that where it's, we live in a crazy world like we already talked about. And if we can change it so that it's our families versus the world, then we have a hope of winning.
Thank you so much for all the work you're doing. You're definitely on the winning side. And thank you so much for spending the time with us, Smith. If people are interested in getting a hold of you, can you give us the websites of where people could reach you?
Yeah, so for Protect Strong, it's www.protect, and that's PROTECHT, strong.com. And then for our foundation that we're starting, it's www.livelifebigger.org. And there's a place to schedule speaking, or there's a place to donate if you'd like. We're trying to do everything that we can to put resources out for families who need it. And so
you do in-person presentations as well as virtual.
Yeah,
am I right?
Yeah, that's correct.
That's correct. Smith will travel. Okay. Thank you so much, Smith, and good luck in all of your future endeavors. For more information, you can find us on Instagram and Facebook at Healthy Screen Habits. Make sure to visit our website, healthyscreenhabits.org, where you can subscribe to the show in Apple Podcasts or via RSS, so you'll never miss an episode. It's free, it's fun, and you get a healthy new screen habit each week. While you're at it, if you found value in this show, we'd appreciate you giving us a quick rating. It really does help other people find us and spread the word of healthy screen habits. Or if you'd simply like to tell a friend, we'd love that too. I so appreciate you spending your time with me this week, and I look forward to learning more healthy habits together.